I know. My moms or my daughters that have the kids home are like, dang it.
Well, I want to welcome everybody that was able to make it in here today. Thank you for joining us. Today we are joined by Iowa Secretary of Agriculture, Bill Northey, to announce 12 new urban water quality demonstration projects. Obviously, water quality is a very important issue in this state, and this announcement is the next step for the Iowa Water Quality Initiative, which is continuing the effort to improve the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy. These projects have been very valuable in getting on-the-ground experience with water quality focused on practices and providing information to farmers, landowners, communities, and urban residents and how they can incorporate these important practices on their own. The Lieutenant Governor and I have had the opportunity to visit a number of these projects, I think over 40 of them, in our 99 county tours over the last couple of years, including visiting farms all over the state of Iowa and urban projects in places like the Quad Cities and Storm Lake and Burlington and West Burlington. These visits have given us the opportunity to see firsthand the work that's being done by Iowans on their farms and in their communities, and the collaboration that's taking place across the state. We continue to see Iowans from both rural and urban areas interested in working together to improve water quality and willing to make improvements. I think the important next step is to identify a long-term, reliable, growing source of revenue to support and implement the nutrient reduction strategy. Lieutenant Governor Reynolds and I put forward a proposal last year, and we're pleased that the Iowa House of Representatives passed through 3 committees a bill that had bipartisan support. I think it got 65 votes that would provide an additional $500 million of funding for the nutrient reduction strategy between now and the year 2029. Currently, there are bills in both houses of the legislature that would implement the water quality funding largely along the lines of the bill that passed the House last year. Actually, the Senate bill was passed out 12-1, and the House has a bill that Representative Chip Baltimore has introduced that is a little different, but is very similar to the House passed bill of last year as well. It does include some items that would involve the Iowa Finance Authority in helping local governments on some funding projects as well. Our administration remains committed to working with legislators of both parties in both houses to finalize a plan that will continue to grow the water quality efforts of our state. And with that, I'm pleased to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds to tell you more about the specifics of these 12 projects that will be announced here by Bill Northey.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. And I want to just start by saying congratulations to the Drake women for the 2017 Missouri Valley Conference champs, and also to Iowa State men's basketball for their great weekend also. So the new projects being announced today are located in Ankeny, Burlington, Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids, Clive, Denison, Des Moines, Emmitsburg, Reedland, Slater, Spencer, Urbandale, Windsor Heights, and Waterloo. The projects will focus on conservation measures that capture stormwater and allow it to be absorbed into the ground and reduce a property's contribution to water quality degradation, stream flows, and flooding. The state will provide $820,840, and that will be matched by $1.18 million from other sources that will help support those projects. Practices to be installed as part of these projects include bioretention cells, bioswales, native landscaping, permeable pavement, rain gardens, sedimentation basins, soil quality restoration, wetlands, as well as others. Iowans can visit cleanwateriowa.org and then click on residential and urban to learn more about how these practices will work. The 12 new projects being announced today join 45 demonstration projects that are already in place across the state of Iowa. This includes 22 urban water quality demonstration projects and 23 demonstration projects that are more rural or agricultural focused. Of the 23 rural focused projects, 16 are in small targeted watersheds and 7 are in a specific water quality practice or on the innovative delivery of a practice to make it easier or more efficient for farmers interested in installing a practice, again, that's focused on water quality. Over 5,000 individual farmers have utilized practices as part of the Iowa Water Quality Initiative, including 1,100 farmers through demonstration projects and 4,000 farmers through the statewide cost share program. The partnerships have brought in significant additional funding to support water quality, including $16 million through the USDA Regional Conservation Partnership Program. To expand implementation and measure progress towards the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy, 2 entities have been formed, the Iowa Agriculture Water Alliance, as well as the Iowa Nutrient Research and Education Council. In addition to this, the Iowa Pork Producers Association has committed $25,000 to offset up to 50% of the cost for pig farmers to install saturated buffers or bioreactors on their farmland. So in total, there are more than 150 organizations who are participating in these water quality projects, and they are providing about $25.28 million in matching funds. So as you can see, there really is significant progress being made, and we're excited to have these 12 new projects get underway. And with that, it's my privilege to bring to the podium Secretary Northey, who certainly has been a leader in implementing the nutrient reduction strategy and working on water quality efforts across the state of Iowa. Secretary Northey.
Well, thank you, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, for helping us to highlight these projects and all the work done through the Water Quality Initiative. You both helped us announce the original nutrient reduction strategy in the fall of 2012 and have been strong supporters of the effort ever since. Our goal since creating the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy is to engage all Iowans on the issue and to encourage them to take steps that help them live, help them wherever they live to improve water quality. And these urban projects are part of the initiative, but the rural efforts remain the bulk of the focus. We provided more than $30 million of support to demonstration projects and practice adoption in rural areas, and nearly $2.5 million in urban projects. Our approach in rural areas is to offer a statewide cost share to farmers interested in trying cover crops, strip till, no-till, nitrification inhibitors. This allows producers, regardless of where they live, to try a water quality focused practice. So far, over 4,000 farmers have participated in this program. The other important piece of the rural effort is 23 demonstration projects that the Lieutenant Governor highlighted, talking about these projects as specific areas or specific focuses. These projects allow us to focus on smaller watersheds and work directly with farmers and landowners to achieve significant results within their areas. For example, we've seen increased adoption of cover crops statewide. In some of these areas where we've had some more focus, we've been able to see a more dramatic increase adoption in cover crops from, in some areas, up to 10 to 15% of the acres in cover crops in these watersheds. So the lessons learned through these demonstration projects will help us guide the department and our partners in being able to understand what to do as we have more funding available. And that's going to be very important for us to be able to have more funding to be able to expand. The demonstration projects have helped us to identify gaps in the current state and federal programs. And it allowed us to be able to be more effective in driving adoption of these practices. It's also allowed us, as the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, to work with lots and lots of partners across the state. Over 150 partner organizations that bring additional people and resources and concern to raise the profile of the Water Quality Initiative. We have a lot of work to do, but we have a very strong foundation that has been laid over the last several years, it's important to take the next steps. Been very encouraged by the strong support we've seen from the legislature and encourage them to continue to move forward on identifying ongoing and growing source of funding for the strong water quality effort. So thanks again to the governor and lieutenant governor for all their support of the water quality initiative and to all Iowans that have participated in this program across the state. So thank you.
We'd open it for your questions on this subject first.
Well, on the water quality in general.
Right.
Senator Diffs expressed the sentiment that he didn't think that the Senate should be dealing with water quality funding until they've worked on policy. He seemed reluctant to pass the water quality funding bill this year.
Well, I would point out that the water quality bill came out of the Senate committee with a 12-1 vote. Every Republican and every Democrat on the committee voted for it. I think there is strong support to do it. I understand that the majority leader has other issues that he wants to get resolved, but we think this is an issue that needs to be addressed this session.
Iowa State University was one of the committees and indicated that the improvement is about 1.5% at best annually. And so it'll take 30 years to just get to the 45% goal, which isn't even half the problem. Is this going fast enough? And is the voluntary way the way to go?
I would answer that, and then I'll give Bill an opportunity to. First of all, we know this is a long-term problem that we need to address. And by having a growing source of funding, we think we can speed up the progress that's being made. We're pleased that there is progress being made. Obviously, we want to see more progress being made, and this long-term reliable source of funding will make it possible for us to do that.
Yeah, let me agree with that. So what we've been doing is building the base, building the understanding, the skills, and now what we have in place is the understanding of where we would spend those next dollars as we make additional contributions, and how we would bring lots of other folks into this effort, federal dollars and other private partners. And so that opportunity to be able to grow and increase the rate of improvement over time is obvious by how much improvements already started even at this early stage.
And it really,
Go ahead.
well, and it really helps, as Bill indicated in his comments with the demonstration projects, it really helps us identify best practices. And that's how we begin to increase the percentage of progress that we're making. And so by laying the foundation that Bill talked about and identifying best practices, that's how we begin to scale with a dedicated revenue source. And that allows us to tap into federal dollars that would be available too. So, and just private partnerships involved in the initiative also.
And we worked very closely with Secretary Vilsack when he was Secretary of Agriculture. And we've already talked to Sonny Perdue, who's going to be the next Secretary of Agriculture. We want to build on that partnership with the USDA and other federal agencies to augment what the state can do, as well as what the local landowners and communities are doing. Other questions on this subject? If none, we'll accept questions on other subjects as well. Bill, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Talk about Steve King. You're probably aware David Duke was tweeting that fourth congressional district in Iowa is a good place for people to move. And,
I disagree with what Steve King had to say, and we certainly don't want David Duke or his kind to come to Iowa.
Congressman King becoming a bigger problem for you and the party? He makes comments like this in the various instances you all have to come out of.
Well, you know, Steve King is Steve King, so we all know that.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, he from time to time says things that we just don't agree with, and we've always, you know, been honest about that. We've worked with him on a lot of things, and some of the things that he says we just think are wrong and we disagree with.
But people think this is racist policy.
Well, again, as I said, we disagree with it. we think it's wrong, and we think it is something that we don't agree with.
I'm gonna say something too.
Sure.
Well, I don't believe it's reflective of Iowans or Iowa values. So we disagree. I strongly disagree, and I do not believe that is reflective of Iowans throughout the state.
But we've been told by the GOP people, leadership in the fourth district, that Steve King does reflect the views and values of.
Well, this statement certainly doesn't. On some things like renewable energy, we've worked with him on, and certainly he's got a district that's got more renewable energy than any other congressional district in the country. And obviously that's something we care deeply about. And I know he does as well, but we disagree with this kind of a statement.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Norley, because you had endorsed Steve King in the primary, didn't you? So what are your views about that? You live in the fourth district. So are you embracing what he's saying?
I certainly support the comments by the governor and lieutenant governor, right? Iowans are very clear about how they feel about these issues. Certainly been a supporter of the congressman on many, many issues, and would continue to support him on those issues and disagree with him on others.
What do you agree with?
Well, agree with him on his support for agricultural issues. Certainly been a big friend, as the governor pointed out, in renewable energy. I just think there's a lot of issues where he has been very good for the fourth district and supportive of the fourth district. There are times that there are disagreements as well, and that would be true of any congressman in any situation. Certainly true in this situation. And, there's comments that are different than lots of other folks that make, and I think everybody's an individual, and we treat everybody as an individual. I think the governor said it right, that Steve King is Steve King. Each person is different, and I think taken at face value.
Other questions?
This is just another offhand comment, and it's not really any big deal.
Well, again, we've made our statement that we disagree with it. We strongly disagree with it. And, we think it has no place.
Does it come to a tipping point sometimes? There's some Republicans who are really disgusted by what he's saying. And they're saying, we just can't tolerate this anymore.
Well,
You ever reach that point where you just don't?
again, as Bill Northey said, each individual is an individual. And, I think we have to look at the totality of the situation. But this kind of a comment we think is totally inappropriate, and we condemn it. Other questions?
How bad do you expect the REC meeting, the numbers to be?
Well, we don't know, but I expect that the revenue estimate is going to be down, and we intend to work with the legislature to deal with the situation. Well, we're going to wait to see what the REC number is before we do, but I hope that we can move quickly with the collaboration of the legislature to deal with the situation. Well, no, I wouldn't speculate about any of these things until we see the number. But once we get that information, we do intend to move quickly.
The House has passed a bill to preempt the minimum wage increases the four counties have put in place, but they don't have any change in the statewide minimum wage in that bill. You've indicated you would support a modest increase. Will you sign a preemption without an increase in the statewide?
Well, as you know, I always reserve judgment on bills until I see them in their final form. I understand why they want to have uniformity in things like the minimum wage, because it creates a lot of problems. And you've got in some of the counties that have done this, you have cities that have chosen not to go along with it. And I think that kind of a situation is not healthy. I would prefer that we look at our neighboring states and look at how we stay competitive. I don't want to cost us jobs. I don't want to put small business out of business. But I also recognize that there's been some time since the minimum wage has been increased, in a lot of our neighboring states have chosen to do some increase over time in the minimum wage. And I certainly think that would be something we should consider.
But would you take action on a preemption without any commitment from the legislature that they'll take a minimum wage issue and $9 would be uniform?
Well, as I said before, I always reserve judgment till I see a bill in its final form. So I'm not going to prejudge or make a decision on a bill until I see it in its final form. We intend to work with the Senate on this legislation that has passed the House.
I just got a question, this specifically about King, but you're probably aware people from the NACP held a lobby day, I think it was
Yeah.
last Thursday, and they've also held a news conference with the media, and they expressed concern. They said we aren't being partisan about this, but they have concerns specifically about some of the things on the agenda, specifically voter ID, which they described as a poll tax and reminiscent of Jim Crow laws, and also expressed concern about stand your ground, saying, gosh, we're concerned that this is going to result in additional black people being killed, and also just expressed general concern about the tenor of things that they were going backwards. How do you respond to that?
Well, the Lieutenant Governor and I meet with the NAACP on a regular basis. I recognize the leader of the NAACP for Iowa and Nebraska as part of the condition of the state address last year. We've worked together on a number of issues, and we intend to continue to do so. And I certainly respect the NAACP and other organizations' right to speak out and express their viewpoint. I don't agree with their characterization of the changes in the election laws, which are designed to protect the integrity of the ballot box. And it's my understanding that somebody that doesn't have a driver's license could get an identification at no cost to themselves. So that's not a poll tax. I don't think that's a correct description of it. But I have always had a good relationship with them. I worked with them when I was at Des Moines University when we started the Glanton Scholarship, and Lieutenant Governor and I meet with them on a quarterly basis, and we want to continue to have that good relationship. Well, I have not been confirmed, so really I have to wait till I see and hear from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
What's the concern?
Yeah, Bill might want to come up and address that too. First of all, we're always on guard about that, and there has been, I think, an issue of that in Tennessee, and then there's been some other, but that's something, obviously, having been through what we went through 2 years ago, we want to be very careful. I think we learned some valuable lessons from what we went through a couple years ago.
As the governor said, our producers have invested large amounts of effort and dollars into biosecurity, trying to keep the disease away from their farms, from truck washes to limited access onto the farms, to lots of ways to try and keep the disease out. So that was done, from sometimes before the last outbreak, but certainly immediately after the last outbreak. Those are all in place. We have seen this new case in Tennessee and a couple low pathogenic cases, one in Tennessee and one in Wisconsin. That just reemphasizes the need for that. I'm sure everybody's checking their biosecurity plans again. There's no guarantee to prevent a disease from being able to be exposed, and it's obviously in the Mississippi flyway now in some wild birds, whether it's a few or a lot, none of us know. But it is everybody's concerned while they continue the plans that they've had in place. And so we're very hopeful to be able to avoid it again. It's important to remind everybody that food safety is not a concern. Go ahead and eat your eggs and eat your turkey meat and chicken meat, and that's not a concern. The producers are concerned about the health of their birds, and they're doing everything that they can to make sure that they keep their birds healthy.
Okay, thank you.